look at what's happened to me. I can't believe it myself. Suddenly, I'm on top of the world. It should have been somebody else. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free, flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, showing up for work more than a DFL caucus. Hey.
Well, that doesn't take much.
No, it does not take much these days, huh?
I know who sings the song, too.
Yeah?
Walking on Air is Jefferson Airplane.
No.
Oh, it's not?
No.
All right. How about,
Oh, you've got to know this song.
well, I know the song, but it's Melon Cougar John.
No, that was last week.
Oh, okay. Damn. It was, let me just say this. Who's that gay guy? George Michael.
No.
Wham? It's
No.
not Wham?
No.
All right. Let me get one more guess.
All right.
It is Karma Chameleon. Who sings that? Don't tell me. Culture Club.
Yes, Culture Club.
That's it. Culture
not
Club.
it.
No,
you-
Culture Club. That's it. I
No.
get half a point.
No, you don't. That isn't this song.
I don't have. I know the song, but I have no idea. Don't tell me it's Billy River.
Billy River.
Yeah, I mean
What's-
Ocean. Billy Ocean.
Billy
It's Billy
Ocean.
Ocean.
No,
I know
no,
what he
no.
sings though.
Oh yeah.
Get out of my dreams and into my car because you're the
boy.
Caribbean Queen.
Caribbean Queen. Yeah. That's
License to Drive. Watch License to Drive, 1988.
Yeah.
You hear that?
yeah. That's in there.
Corey and Corey. So I didn't get it right. It's not.
No.
It's not Culture Michael.
It's none of those. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, just so that you understand what we're doing here, we lead off every episode with a song that has to do with the podcast. And Andrew sometimes gets it right. Sometimes it's not.
Butcher's Head.
Either way, the song goes up on our Community Solutions Music from the Podcast playlist on Spotify. So we've got a whole list of great songs. This one might not be as great as some of the others, but some people like it. It's kind of a guilty pleasure, this
That's
one.
right. As long as we've got some Roxette and Milli Vanilli, I'm good.
We have neither of those.
We blame it on the rain. We don't have that.
No.
We got to figure out how to work that in.
When we do our next global warming episode, maybe we could use Blame
What
It
about
on the Rain.
we don't got Roxette? We didn't go on the Joyride?
No.
We didn't go on the Joyride? God, that's disappointing.
Song is Believe It or Not by Joey Scarberry. It was the theme from The Greatest American Hero.
Absolutely. He's on MSNBC. How did I
Yes,
not know? Joey
exactly.
Scarborough. Okay. Well, I should have known that
cranky
one.
guy in the morning.
Yeah, the cranky guy in the morning married to the cranky lady who
Yeah.
really, really needs help.
Whose dad was a big-time globalist. This is
Oh,
Big
really?
New Brzezinski.
Oh, okay. Well, she needs a lot of things that I can't say on the air.
There's a reason for her view of the world, and
It's the reason they're married.
Look
they're
at
both,
her dad.
They're both miserable,
Oh,
so you know they're perfect for each other.
yeah, no, as Big New was not a friend of folks like you and me.
And here's the
populist.
thing.
Yeah.
The thing. I don't care about left versus right so much as
Yeah.
I've gotten so much less of that as I am about just smart versus dumb.
Yeah.
That's just more of that. It's more
It's that, but it's also the elite versus
the rest of us.
The rest of us.
It's like I say to my friends who tell me I have to listen to science. Here's the one thing about science. Science is never settled.
yeah.
Science is always changing. You know how George Washington died, Jay? Have you ever heard the story?
Like he let too much blood, right?
Yes. He had a very bad sore throat. One doctor thought he had quinsy. Doctor thought he needed a tracheotomy.
Yeah.
The smartest brains on the face of the earth basically took him and bled him to death.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that the scientists, experts, were the right people to call. If Washington would have been left alone, he'd have been fine.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yep.
So I don't have much regard for alleged experts or
No.
you know, Ethan. If you question me, you're really questioning science. I mean, there's that attitude out there,
Right.
The Tim Walz attitude, and that's the kind of attitude that I want to take, bend somebody over, grab their ankles, and I'll tell you where to put it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't write it. I read a book that was put out back in 2008 by David Rothkopf called Superclass, The Global Power Elite and the World They Are Making. And it was really eye-opening to me at the time, kind of in my formation of my worldview, and how people that maybe I thought were good were not so good. I probably, coming out of George Bush's, 2008, I wouldn't have, I don't think. I think I had it figured out before then. Because I did vote for George W. Bush in 2004, as we said an episode or two ago, and I did not vote for the Republican candidate in 2008. So I would have it figured out by then. But I didn't vote for the Democrat either, just to make that clear. It was the Constitution Party. But that was a different time when the argument was really more or less about how much taxes do you want to spend on social networks, social programs, social nets, not social networks, social nets. There was more room. Now when everything is on the line, I mean, you really, unfortunately, if a Democrat won this time around, I don't think that we would recover as a nation. I think it had to be Trump, or we were looking at a major transformation to something we really would not have liked, that resembled the USSR of the 70s.
I said this before, and I'll say it again. It had a 1980 feeling to it.
Yeah.
That, imagine we reelected Jimmy Carter or elected Fritz Mondale or Michael Dukakis. It had that type of feel to it. One thing about Americans, though, they have a knack for figuring that out.
Right.
Majority of Americans just kind of have a knack for,
yeah,
we're going to reelect Lincoln. We're going to, we're just, some presidents who aren't my favorites, maybe were good and right for the time. Again, I have my views on that, and that changes all the time. My views on that change. They really do. I mean, there are presidents that I think did a good job in a certain area, and I think did a bad job in another area.
Yeah.
That's me. I mean, I will give FDR credit for some of his work during World War II. He had no business running in 1944.
Nope.
I blame him. I blame his wife. I blame the people around him.
Yeah.
He had no business there. You talk about 25th Amendment, people talk about Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
1944, FDR had no business running a country or a world war. Not his fault. He was, not capable of it physically or mentally.
Eleanor loved that power.
Yes, and she's Eleanor Roosevelt's a piece of trash. And I'm sorry I hate to say that, but it's true. She's up there with Jill Biden and Hillary, pieces of trash. Sorry.
Yeah.
But there are people more concerned about their status, and they should have stepped in and protected their husbands and refused. And I wouldn't marry them. I wouldn't touch them on a bet. So just let that go. Let that go, Jay. In fact, let me back up a second. When I say Americans have a knack for electing the right person, there is caveats to that. I mean, you go back to take an election like 1920. Okay, and I think Warren Harding is an underrated president.
Yes.
I think Calvin Coolidge is an underrated president. Why do I think that? Because it's a repudiation of the Wilson administration.
Yeah.
It was a repudiation of interventionist wars, destruction of civil liberties, and Americans rebuked that expansion of government and expansion of power.
Right.
And it's not portrayed in the history books that way very often. And I am one that I will take a William Howard Taft. I will take a Warren Harding. I will take a John Calvin Coolidge over a Woodrow Wilson or a Teddy Roosevelt any day of the week times 10.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's just me. Anyhow.
There haven't been enough of those in our past.
Another book I'll write at some point. But, so I even have a title. Really? President Harding said it best, because remember, your birthday's November 5th, right?
Yes, I received the best birthday gift anybody could ever have asked for. Yes.
But President Harding's birthday was November 5th as well.
Yeah.
And he was elected president on his 56th birthday.
I travel in good circles. That's good. Yeah.
So anyhow, yes, November 5th, great day in 2024.
Yeah.
Certainly, no doubt about it. Now, Jay, let me just say this.
Yes.
Here in Minnesota, let me say something straight up here. I know that the we talk about, and we'll get into this in a second, the Republicans organizing the legislature, the Senate's basically a split actually right now.
Yeah.
Until this, in my opinion, rushed and legally questionable Senate race.
Yes.
But you know what? When the legislature is evenly divided and they all hate each other, you know what that tells me?
Nothing will get done, and it's a great day.
And I'm so happy. Yeah, I know. It's like I can just picture May. They're all bitching and whining that this didn't get done. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. Thank you. I'm all right with it.
Yep.
So, I mean, look at it this way, Jay. What do you make of the legislature and the I would call it extraordinary, weird things that have gone on to start this session?
Oh my goodness! I was actually at the Capitol on Monday before a little get together in preparation for that next day when they were getting sworn in. Little did I know at the time the DFL was already getting sworn in by Judge Joe Brown or Wapner or whatever it was. I'm just kind of floored. Like, I don't know how much you followed this, but somehow they thought it was okay to rent a room with campaign funds at the Minnesota Historical Center. They rented a room, pulled down the shades, turned on some Barry White or whatever they did, and took the oath of office, including Brad Tapke, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But he was part of this, and they got sworn in and then didn't show up for work the next day. Yeah, they took it early on Monday, and then Tuesday was the actual day of the swearing in. They didn't come to work. Now, there were rumors going around that they were not going to get paid if they didn't show up to work, and I think that's probably a great idea. So that leads me to believe that's why they got sworn in early. But when you look at Minnesota law, they shouldn't be able to do this. Minnesota law states, well, the Constitution states that the legislature will be sworn in their respective houses, so Senate in the Senate room, House in the House room, at noon on the first day that the legislature convenes. That is what the Constitution says. And they went and hired some other judge or got some other judge to do it. I can't guarantee they gave him money to do it. But I'm
guessing he didn't work for free that day.
I don't know. He's retired, so maybe he did. I don't know.
Well, we're paying him one way or another.
Leftist judges might be more than happy to do this. But breaking the law to have the DFL sworn in a day early in secret, mind you, there were no press invited. There were no anybody invited. It was just them secretly in a room. Nobody knew about it beforehand, and one single picture leaked out afterwards.
Now, let me ask a question, because I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The DFL will get away with it. They get away with everything in the state.
Yeah, they
There's
might.
nothing they don't get away with. There's nothing that the media won't let them get away with. If you're the DFL, what is the purpose of, they picked a person to run for office in Roseville that did not live in the area.
He lived in Little Canada
and was disqualified.
Yes,
it is. And who said Steve Simon gets to come in here and decide what is a quote quorum or not?
Here's how.
Is that another kind of?
There is a state law that says that the Secretary of State gets to preside over the opening session of the House until there is a speaker picked. Well, he came in and said there's not a quorum, and adjourned the session. However, state law also says you cannot adjourn a session until there's a majority of people that that vote to adjourn the session. So the DFL's tried to have it both ways, to say that there wasn't enough to have a quorum, so there wasn't a session, but then to say that the session had already been adjourned by Steve Simon. Well, which is it? Was there no session at all, or was there a session and then it was adjourned? And I will argue that it wasn't adjourned because state law says that there has to be a vote, and a majority of those present can adjourn a meeting.
Well, now here's what I come back to.
Yes.
You have 67 Republicans and 66 Democrats. 67 is the majority.
Yes.
Meaning
because
there's one vacant seat, so you have 133 legislators.
Yes.
One has the majority, so therefore, what's the gray area?
Right.
Yeah, okay, we have another one coming up in a couple of weeks, but until then, there's a majority. There is.
And the DFL is crying because, we had a power sharing agreement. Yeah, that's before you cheated. You cheated, and you know you cheated, and you think that power sharing agreement should still stand after you cheated. I'm sorry, you have one less person in the legislature than the Republicans. You need to deal with it. Those are the repercussions of cheating.
Well, and here's the thing. If we have 133 elected legislators, 67's a majority, so
yes.
It is what it is.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm actually semi-happy. That Republicans have called the bluff here, because
yes.
I was very worried that, and I'll tell you what, Melissa Horrible and the Democrats keep saying, we're going to be working, we're going to be talking to our constituents and getting together. No, you can't get together. You can't form a quorum.
Right.
You cannot get together. The laws specifically, open meeting laws and all that, specifically state that you can't do that.
And if they do, I hope the Republicans take them to court.
They can take them to court, but the court will side with the Dems every time. I mean, we all know that.
How can you do that on open meeting laws? They cannot have a meeting.
They don't apply to the
outside.
legislature. They've never applied to the legislature. The legislature has made open meeting laws that apply to everybody except them.
How many omnibus bills have
How many times have they met with the governor in secret, which they're not supposed to? How many times have they done backroom deals, which they're not supposed to?
Yeah.
They do it all the time. The law never. It's like having a bill on a single subject. Mm-hmm. We have that in the Constitution. We've had that in the Constitution for 100 years, and they never abide by it.
Right. Well, here's the thing. There is also a law in Minnesota that if they aren't sworn in within a certain amount of time, then their seat becomes vacant.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't have to be recalled. Now, they can be recalled if they don't show up for duties, but if they haven't been sworn in the first place, they can just, their seat is vacant. So that means having to have special elections in 67 different House districts across the state. And obviously, a lot of those are going to go Democrat. I don't know that they all will. So the DFL really needs to watch what they do here, because if they keep pushing this, and I think the people of Minnesota see through this. It's like, why are they not showing up to work? Why are they hiding out? Why? Now, granted, they're trying to be louder than the Republicans right now, and they're crying about, oh, this is a mini January 6th. This is an insurrection. This is
6th.
Yeah. This is not an
gotta love
insurrection.
how
This is called showing up for work.
You got to love how the party protecting democracy is the one not showing up.
You're right.
I'm okay with it. Stay away.
Right.
Don't ever come in there. I'm great with that.
And you know what they should do? They should repeal the trans sanctuary law. They should repeal the abortion sanctuary law. They should repeal all of this crazy stuff that the legislature passed over the last 3 years. Send it to Walz's desk. If he doesn't sign it within a matter of however many days, then it becomes law. If he vetoes it, guess what? You have 100% of the people that are present, right, to override his veto. Why not? Why not?
Well,
do
the
it?
Senate's showing up. We'll see if they.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's even right now.
But you have an anomaly there, which is
Right.
the criminal case against whatever her name is, the chick from Woodbury.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, what's her name?
to me, that is extra legal as well. You know, I mean, Nick Mitchell, is it?
Yes.
George Mitchell is her name?
Yes, George Mitchell.
I mean,
Nicole Mitchell.
yeah,
is that
whatever.
it?
It's something like that. Doesn't matter. Here's the thing, though. I mean, do you have? You've got somebody. She's filing motions to put this trial off until the summer. Obviously, with the intent of serving it out at least through this year, so that no special election has to happen and the DFL majority doesn't have to prevail. Now,
Yeah.
to be fair, and I'm kind of being very little fair here, people like Ken Martin, even Governor Walz, has called on her to resign. Here's the whole thing. Walz could make it happen with some pushing and shoving.
Right.
Martin could probably make it happen too. They both probably have the power to force her out.
Yeah.
I think that they're posturing a little bit publicly, but they do have the power, I believe, to force her out of there and won't use it. So you have a situation where we have I mean, it's hard to argue. She basically has admitted in public that these charges are the truth.
Yep.
And if she gets convicted of something, she'll be expelled. So the question becomes again, why do we have a DFL majority here?
Because it's about power.
Yeah.
That's all they care about. They don't care about morality. They don't care about any of that. All they care about is power. Not doing the right thing, power.
But we keep hearing, let the legal process play out. You're delaying the legal process. You're trying to manipulate the legal process. You're doing everything you can to make sure the legal process is. I mean, if this were an average person, she'd have gone to trial already, and this would be dealt with already.
Right.
She's getting special treatment like the elites always do.
They want to push it off until after the session is done.
Yeah, after she votes to raise our taxes thousands and thousands of dollars, then she can go face trial for something.
Yep. And, speaking of taking things to court and trying to legislatively or judiciously, is that the right word? Figure things out. This whole Brad Tabke thing in the House. the Democrats, gave him the oath, right? And he took it. The Republicans don't want to seat him because there's pending litigation right now. Yes, there was a judge who said that he's allowed to sit. And so the Democrats, of course, are making a big deal out of that. Oh, he won the election, and then there were 20 missing votes. Let's talk about that. And then the judge said that his win was a good win, and you won't seat him. You guys are the ones that are power hungry. There's still pending litigation because there's things called an appeal. You don't just give up on 20 missing votes because some random judge who I'm sure was appointed by Walz or something. I don't know. I don't know how long he's been there. I haven't looked into any of that. I guess I can't say that. But you have a lot of leftist judges in Minnesota. And so you appeal and you try to push your case forward. That's a normal part of the judicial process, and they know that.
Well, again, if I had to guess, Democrats will win. They'll win the court battle.
Well, I don't know.
My guess is if they take it to court, they already know the result.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not sure Republicans, their best case is to take all these things to court. I think they need to take it to the public.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that maybe they're, again, Republicans kind of fall over themselves, lacking the ability to do that. And this is another thing, too, where, we talked in previous episodes about the mainstream media dying.
Yeah.
The local mainstream media, that may die long before the regular mainstream media. I was watching Channel 5 the other day at either noon or 11 o'clock news, and it was something that a 10-year-old could have done.
Yeah.
I can have a 10-year-old tell me what Trump said on social media yesterday and what some Democrats said with no attempt to get to the truth by the mainstream media. I can have a 9-year-old tell me what the temperature is outside. I don't need to hire a meteorologist. It was the whole program was just, what was the point of that? I learned nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe local news will go first.
Maybe. I can't remember the last time that I've watched any local news. You bring that up, and it's funny. There's a number of these news outlets. You look at like the Minnesota Reformer, their headline, Legislative Eve, a secret swearing in, CBS News. But this is not local CBS. This is CBS, who I don't trust either. But House Democrats take oath of office in secret. Then you have the Star Trib, which hadn't reported anything at first. And eventually, because
they couldn't ignore it anymore.
Right. Minnesota Democrats secretly sworn into office. But then you look at places like NPR. Judge explains why he swore in nearly all House DFLers early. As if it's normal. As if it's acceptable. Fox 9. Minnesota House DFL members hold early swearing-in ceremony. Like, it's... I don't even understand.
They report it like they're late to lunch.
Yeah. Or early. 5 Eyewitness News. House Republicans denounce Democrats' early swearing in.
Useless.
They're useless.
Well, and Jay, we've said this before. If somebody's going to run statewide against a DFLer, it has to be what President Trump just did with the DFL and the elites and the elite media and the elite donors and that kind of thing.
Right.
That's how it's going to be done. It's not going to be done by signing tax pledges.
Right.
Or pledging your loyalty to this group or that group. Yep. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Whatever the previous candidates have done, don't do. Whoever they hired, don't hire.
Yeah.
And you know what? Look, some of those people are friends of mine. I mean, it's not easy for me to come out and say this, but there's a reason there's W's and the reason there's L's.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of another L, care11.com. Minnesota House DFL accelerates swearing in. What, did they speak really fast? Did they only have the room for a half hour? What was the deal? I don't even understand.
They did it for Big Mac McDLT, a quarter pounder with some cheese. No, they did it very, very quickly. That's what happened.
Yes. Alpha News probably had the best and most accurate headline. Although the one saying there was a secret swearing in, that's true. But House Democrats hold illegitimate secret swearing in. And that's what it was, because you look at state law, and it was illegitimate as well as secret. And nothing good ever happens in secret. I mean, think about where these things happen, where somebody is put into office in some smoky back room and the public doesn't know. I mean, I have to laugh. I'd said something about this already, but your favorite, John Kennedy from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Did you happen to catch? Oh my goodness. He was talking about oh goodness, who was he? It wasn't Hegseth. It was it Pam Bondi yesterday? I think that he was he's asking questions of, and there were two things that he said. Can't remember the first one, but the second one deals with what we were talking about, where he was talking about, and things like this happen only in countries where the Powerball jackpot is 327 chickens and a goat.
I get a kick out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's going on locally? I mean, I don't know what to say about it, Jay. Does Tim Walz run for a third term? I've asked you this a couple times. What's your gut feeling?
I think
there?
he does.
When does he announce it? Of course, you won't get a straight answer from him in the short term.
I think it'll probably be in the summer or fall.
Okay.
It'll have to be.
Well, it's going to have to be in 25.
Yeah, I think by the state fair, so he can be at the state fair.
Yeah, he's not the most popular guy there.
No, there was a stand there last year that was anti-Tim Walz.
Yeah, I mean, question. The opposition to him, which we've, been depressed about. Walz doesn't run. Let's just play this out. Who does on the DFL side?
Well, I suppose Hartman might run. Keith Ellison could run.
That's the person I believe will run.
Really?
Yes. I don't think Melissa Horrible will run.
Do you think that Keith Ellison could win a governor's race? That's different than a Secretary of State race.
Yes, I do.
Ooh.
Yes, because with the right money and all that, I didn't think he could win Attorney General.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And I was wrong about that.
I thought in outstate Minnesota they would just...
Well, there's enough votes. It's going to be tougher for him because before Michelle Fischbach won out there, 7 has become more red, 1 has become more red, 8 has become more red. It's going to be tough for him to win, but do I think he can win? Yes. That's my honest opinion. Now,
does Klobuchar jump in?
No.
Okay.
I don't think
she loves her gig.
And if I were her, I'd jump in because the Democrats aren't going to be the majority in the Senate anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, 2 senators from every state. Trump won 32 states. There's way more red states than blue states. And if you look at who's up, especially in 26, it's Georgia, Arizona, Michigan,
Yep.
Democrats in those states, even in 28, again, you've got Fetterman might be in decent shape, but you've got the other Georgia seat. You've got the other New Hampshire seat. I mean, it's going to be difficult for them to ever get a majority there. And to me, if Klobuchar is not the chair of some big time thing, I think she could win the governorship easy if she wanted it.
She wants to be president, and that would be a path for her to be able to
It would be a better path than senator.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think she's a little too naked with ambition.
Yeah.
I think that's a negative. I think people see that as a negative.
Do you? I don't
Yeah, I do. I think people are like, you're trying to get something to get somewhere. I think people see through that way more than they used to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my opinion.
I don't think it would hurt her in Minnesota, but outside of Minnesota, maybe.
You think people in California don't see where Gavin Newsom's head's been recently?
Yeah, but do they care?
Do they care? Yeah. Are they going to get over their white guilt and their, what they've been trained to look at? I don't know.
Yeah.
But Gavin Newsom couldn't beat anybody to get to the White House.
No.
Nobody.
No.
People in Michigan, Pennsylvania going to vote for him? No way.
Yeah, that's it.
Not a chance.
No.
So, I don't know. If I were Klobuchar, I'd jump in. I would run for governor. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd run against Walz. She'd beat Walz handily.
Probably.
I absolutely think so.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't go to be in the Senate where you're going to be the minority for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Anyone else you think might jump in?
On the Dem side,
Yeah.
Flanagan.
Oh, I suppose she will. If Walz isn't running, she won't overstep.
I
him,
don't think so.
believe.
I think there's a little tension there
Yes.
between the two. Part of me used to think that I'm going to throw a curveball at people. I'm going to throw a curveball that I think Dean Phillips could run.
I don't know if he wants to.
I don't think he wants it either, but I do think that he's been vindicated by a lot of stuff he said.
Yeah. People might see him as a reasonable Democrat, even though he voted for all the same garbage.
Yeah. I mean, he's like Amy Klobuchar. Somehow he gets a reputation. He knows the media won't hold him accountable. And he has the money and the backing and the name ID to crush anybody. I think he could beat Walz. I think Phillips and Klobuchar could both beat Walz if they wanted to run against him.
Yeah.
On the Republican side, I'll stop there.
There's
people I think that could win a statewide race.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to run. I think Pete Stauber could.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think he could be in the 8th as long as he wants to be. Why run for Senate or governor?
Right.
Oh. I don't know.
Yeah.
But on the DFL side, there's a if Walz runs and there's an if Walz doesn't run. I'm going to place my money that he doesn't. I think his star is weakened here pretty bad.
I don't think he's humble enough to realize it.
Maybe not, but maybe. I mean, I keep thinking at the back of my mind that there's nowhere for him to go but down from here on out.
Right.
So it's kind of, you had your one shot.
Yeah.
Didn't get there for whatever reason.
But I think it's whet his taste that he wants that. I don't know.
You could be. I'll tell you what. I just remember when Kamala conceded, seeing Walz in the audience, literally crying.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he wanted to cry so bad. He just wanted to wet his pants. And it was kind of like, oh, gee whiz, come on, dude. I mean, it was pathetic. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, do I think Ellison will run? Sure. Do I think Klobuchar could run if she wanted it? Yes. I think Phillips could run easy.
Yeah.
I think they could win. I think they could sail through. You'd think this would be a place where they could make it close, if not win, but I don't think anybody's acts together.
Yeah.
That's me.
If he didn't have cancer and they could convince him to move back, the DFL should court Randy Moss. Telling you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know that Moss would be anybody's lackey, but yeah.
No, he probably would not be.
Probably be too unpredictable for them to have.
But he'd win, I'm sure.
He might. Where's he originally from? West Virginia?
Yeah.
Or out there
West
somewhere?
Virginia.
Marshall, that's where he went to college? Yeah, so maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he keeps a permanent home. I believe it's out there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. How about Kevin McHale? Anybody convince Kevin McHale to run? I'd love to see him run. He's pretty right wing.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be a bad guy to have run. I don't know.
I don't know if he's more of a populist or a rhino, but
doesn't matter. He ain't them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he's endorsed Republicans in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's the thing. Kevin McHale, Phil Housley. I'll give him as not Karen. Phil,
goodness.
the hockey player.
Yes.
We'll have him run. Or Neil Broughton. How about Neil Broughton?
Yeah. He's still around.
Neil Broughton run. Well, hey, you're going to think outside the box. You got to think outside the box. Ken Herbeck.
Oh.
I mean.
Yeah. That would be a
Ken would be
show.
interesting. I think he'd be interesting.
That would be a good show.
Yeah. I don't know, Jay. I don't know. I don't have much confidence, though.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at another nightmare year.
We'll see.
Well,
this is the cycle where things can change because Wolves is so weekend and all the DFL are tied to him lockstep.
Yeah, and the DFL's made its own bed, and
it really has.
They're screwed by it. But again, if you have a local media that doesn't hold them accountable, if you have the money all on one side, that makes it really tough.
Yeah.
Makes it really tough to get through. So, I don't know. Like I said, any Republican wanting to run for governor, here's my advice to you, and I said this on AM 1280 as well. Whoever's worked on Republican campaigns for the last 20 years, don't hire. Whatever pledges anybody's signed, don't sign. Whatever anybody's done, don't do. There's your strategy. Well, and that hurts because some of those people are friends of mine. But I have to say, whatever they've done has not worked. It's failed. There's no ifs and buts about it. So whatever they've done, look, here's my thing. If I were running, I'm not signing any pledge unless there's six figures in it for me.
Yeah.
So if the Minnesota gun owners want me to sign something, you six-figure check or I'm not signing anything. Well, your endorsement isn't worth anything. Your endorsement isn't worth a piece of butt wipe. What are you going to do? Endorse the Democrat? I mean, your endorsement means nothing. With all due respect, because I got a lot of good friends there. But if your endorsement doesn't come with anything, then it's useless for me to kiss your ass to get it. Sorry, it's true. Taxpayers leave the money there. What does signing a new tax pledge get me? It gets me votes I've already got.
That's true.
So, sorry, I ain't signing nothing without a six-figure check.
Well, and it's no secret. They talk about it openly. Charlie Kirk and Scott Pressler and go get people on the fringes.
Yes, they didn't try to right fight. Yeah, I know. And again, Minnesota is famous for right fighters. They're going to lose, but they're going to be right. Lost by 20, but I'm right. Zippity-doo-dah. And I'll tell you what, you're going to have to cut into that union vote. You have to cut into that minority vote, and you're going to have to figure out how.
Yep.
And I'll tell you how you're not going to do it. By walking to them and trying to condescend to them and tell you how it is or how it's going to be or how they should think. Yep. People will react the 100% opposite to that. I had a conversation with somebody recently who told me I was pretty much selling out because I was abandoning right to work and stuff like that. This is my response. I'll use my father as a great example. My dad's never been liberal. But if you tell him you're right to work, you're going to get into first base with the guy.
Yeah.
That is their mentality. You have to speak to them, not speak to how we want them to be.
Right.
It's kind of like liberals are very emotional. Republicans are big time thinkers. So you got to talk in their language.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that by trying to win arguments on Facebook or
you got to understand where the pain points are and be able to talk to them about that.
Yeah, and there's too many right fighters.
We're all getting nailed with inflation. People can't afford food. People can't afford gas. People can't afford mortgage or rent. These are things that they won't talk about. People are in favor of school choice, believe it or not. And voter ID. These are things that they want to talk about.
But again, I'll come to this. If you want to make it where I got to agree with you 100%, if I come to it where, I'm gonna try to, needle you on this or that, you lost a potential voter right there like that.
Yeah.
And so it bothers me because I don't like being called a sellout if I'm willing to just say, okay, this issue's bigger than this issue.
Yeah.
Can I just say that? Avoiding a nuclear war, I'm sorry, that's a little more important than whether somebody's right to work. Can I just say that?
Yeah.
Hey, avoiding a nuclear war, just a tad more important.
A little bit.
Okay, So that's, call it populist, call it whatever you want to call it. I don't care what label you put on it.
Right.
There's just we've developed these coalitions. I've said this before. President Trump has, in particular, like no Republican since President Reagan, has expanded. President Reagan, the people who supported him, the Reagan Democrats, it wasn't about so much conservative or liberal.
Right.
It was a tremendous movement. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing now. There's a tremendous movement of people protecting women's sports, protecting, this or that issue. And they may not agree on everything, but there's a movement in one direction against the elites, the people who talk down to us. We all don't have to agree with each other on everything, but we've got to understand what we're up against.
Right. People who want to tell us how to live and force mandates
Silicon
on
Valley us. and the censorship folks.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I'm a pretty strong free speech absolutist.
Yes, me too.
And I don't rightly care what somebody's opinion is, but I don't want to censor people that I don't agree with.
Right.
It's like, you can offend me to death, but you have the right to offend me. If I shut you up, I'm no different than the fascists are.
And how long till you get shut up?
Very soon. As soon as somebody's in office who doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
That's how quick it comes. So, Jay, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Looming on Monday is the finally. This is the longest.
By
the way, did you see Biden's farewell address?
Not one word of it.
I'll tell
I've
you
heard
what.
the word oligarchs.
Well,
get
it
thrown
was
around,
a
but that's it.
long, meandering,
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff where I'm just like, hey, dude, haven't you had the last 4 years to do this? That kind of stuff. It was pretty tough to get through.
Yeah.
But finally on Monday, he will no longer be there. And like what I've said and you've said is the longest lame duck. I'll tell you what, imagine if it were March 4th like it was,
Yes.
prior to the Depression.
Yeah.
Imagine that if we had another 2 months.
Oh, I would just.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Somebody save me.
I think we're about to enter I don't know who created this 100 days stuff. I think that was during the screw deal.
Yeah.
But we're entering what could be a monumental. I mean, where we are now, where we could be in May, June, July, we may see a flurry of. Well, we're going to see a flurry of some stuff.
Yeah.
How do you read right now where the party is at and I've said this before, Republicans have the largest majority they've had since the 1920s.
Yes.
And I don't think they realize this, but you have to go back 100 years for when they had a House, Senate, the Supreme Court, the presidency, a majority of governors, and a majority of the legislatures. You have to go back that far.
Yeah.
100 years.
And look at what came out of that. You had the Roaring 20s.
Yeah, you had a great decade for the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, which...
Only derailed by, the looming war in Europe.
Well, and...
you had all the tariffs and with Herbert Hoover.
You had several mistakes made
Yeah.
by both sides, I would say.
Yeah.
But yes,
Now, granted, those tariffs are used differently than how President Trump is looking at using tariffs.
Yes,
It's
Trump
not
wants-
going to be apples and apples there.
Well, right, and back then there was a blanket tariff.
Yeah.
Now it's very different than that.
Right.
And again, we all know Trump's a deal maker.
Yep.
He wants a deal. He
Yes.
doesn't want this is his ace in the hole, which he doesn't want. We all know he doesn't want to use.
Right.
He can, but he didn't want to. What I love? I just loved when Trump went on and on about Greenland.
Yes.
And the media just went crazy.
They lost their mind.
And all of a sudden, the people over Greenland, we couldn't enter an agreement with you. There's something going on behind the scenes.
They
Trump's-
don't want to be under Denmark.
No, they don't.
They
Trump's
don't like
sending
it.
a subliminal message over there. Hey,
Yeah.
you want to join us somehow? We're open to it. We'll see what kind of thing we can do. It's just, but to watch him play the media, it's just
I love it. He is the greatest troll of all time.
I know it.
And to watch masterfully what he did with Canada and the whole 51st state and Governor Trudeau.
And
how long did it take until he stepped down?
And how about the lady who wanted to annex California? Trump said, "Yeah, you want to take California? We'll sit down and negotiate," or something like that. When he's, yeah, it was hilarious. Again, I go back to this though, Jay. When you talk about, we all know his agenda. We all know what he wants to do. There's some things he could do executively, some things I think he can't. Are questionable, but I think Trump believes his power executively is limited, which he should believe. I think that's true. I think a lot of it is just going to be reversing the negative stuff over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Those things are probably already written. They're probably already there waiting for him. I think he'll give an inaugural address, walk inside, sign 100 executive orders, then go to the inaugurational ball.
Yeah.
But here becomes the question: what do you see as Trump doing by himself right away? And when I say right away, I don't necessarily mean day one. I mean more just like in the first 30, 60 days. What do you see him accomplishing? Forget Congress for a minute. By himself, what do you see him doing in the first, between, say, now and the end of March, let's say, by himself?
Well, why don't we start with what day one and see exactly, because we already know what he's planning to do on that day. So,
reversing the ban on fracking.
Yeah.
I would say reversing the ban on oil exploration on federal lands. I think those two things will be gone for certain. I think he'll put some things on the border, some executive actions, whatever he can do himself. I do think Congress has to do some things there.
Yes, they do.
And we can get into that in a minute. But I think going back to continuing to construct the wall, continuing to, as the executive, he has the right to move resources, as far as I'm concerned, that are allocated by Congress to that issue there. I think you're going to see that extremely quickly.
Yeah.
You may see that day one, day two. You might see that all those resources being moved. I think with Tom Homan, with Stephen Miller, with some of the what I call Trump's kitchen cabinet around him, I think you'll see a move. I think the border and energy will be the two things that he moves on really fast.
Yes.
And I think he has to, because I think energy is the critical thing in lowering prices.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a big reason why he won was inflation. Well, the cost of energy is built into everything.
Yes.
And I think to lower that, and I also think Trump understands that those prices are not going to go down in a week.
No,
they're going to go down slowly over time.
It's going to take about 30 days.
I mean,
or so to really see it.
And I think it may even take the summer for it to really go down.
Yeah.
You know, because you got to lower those gas prices, you really got to increase the supply. Well, the supply doesn't all increase a week later.
Right.
You got to issue permits, and there's a process with that.
Additional drilling, and then you've got to have the refineries to.
But I'm telling you, the companies are standing there just waiting for January 20th.
Yeah,
they're like they've probably brought things to federal lands, just waiting for that. So I think you're gonna see movement real quick. I think that, and then the border. I think that's the other thing that that executively he can legally do quite a few things with the border. Moving, obviously, is the head of the executive branch.
Yeah,
he can move Homeland Security resources and things like that. I think those are the two things that'll be the prime focus for him personally. And I would say one other thing, and that is foreign policy. That is the end of the war in Ukraine. I think the peace deal that they're talking about in the Middle East, which I don't 100% endorse, but I think Trump's had a lot to do with that. Supposedly his envoys have been involved in the negotiations. I don't know that would be happening if he didn't win.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of Muslim voters who supported President Trump because they want peace.
Right.
No, they just want peace. You know, and they think he's the best guy to bring the peace, which I think is true.
Yeah.
So, but I think you're going to see a big focus on that and ending that Ukraine-Russian war. I'm not sure how it ends exactly. I'm not sure what the best terms would be. I think we're in a little bit of a weak, not in the strongest position. I think some concessions are going to be needed, but with the hundreds of thousands of people that have been killed,
yes,
I'll take a victory for humanity. So I think those are the three things that are going to occupy his time.
Also, pardoning the nonviolent January 6th people.
And you know what I was hoping with that, and I've said that before.
Yeah,
that Biden would pardon them. And then Trump would pardon Hunter.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for. A deal like that. We're just going to end the lawfare. We're just going to end it.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong, I
believe it will be done.
I think Trump will do it immediately.
Right.
I think the applications are already on his desk.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
And you know what? I think Trump should explain it to the nation.
Yeah.
Trump should explain who these people are and why. Don't do a Biden. Don't pardon 1,500 people and then have no idea who they are. I think pardon them and say why you're going to pardon them.
Right.
These people were not violent. They've been held. Some of them have been held without charges.
Yes.
Which is very un-American. So I think that should happen as well. You're right, though. That needs to happen. The country needs to move on.
Yep.
So
now those who broke windows, the people who haven't even been, put to any kind of scrutiny at all, like Ray Epps, those people still need to go through the process and pay pay their dues to this nation. But those who haven't done anything, those who are charged with parading, the grandmothers, the people who just were there and did something stupid by walking in, that needs to be taken care of right away.
yeah, it should be.
So, yeah. Looking at something from the Deseret News in Salt Lake City, who they've gotten very progressive over the
Oh, really?
Yes, but they do have an article on tracking a lot of his day one stuff. Trump says on day one, I will sign an executive order directing every federal agency to immediately remove every single burdensome regulation driving up the cost of goods. That, hopefully it's a little more specific than that.
That sounds great, but yeah.
So
I would agree, but what's every burdensome regulation?
yeah, I don't know.
Probably reversing a lot of Biden stuff, Green New Deal stuff.
Yeah,
cafe standards, all sort of things like that.
Right. He will get rid of the insane electric vehicle mandate and end the Green New Scam, as he calls it. We talked about getting things going with drilling. He's also going to revoke the offshore oil gas drilling ban in vast areas on day one.
Got to be done.
Good. Yeah. So, he's going to secure the southern border, so the border will get closed and start deporting people right away.
Starting with the criminals.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. What else?
Now, let me ask you an immigration question, because while I support all that, I still think at some point Congress has to get involved. We have to deal with what we're going to do with the people here.
Yeah.
Because to me, you want to get rid of the criminals, great. You want to shut the border down, perfect. What do we do with the people who are here? I mean, my answer to it, as much as this bothers me, is that I think we need to give them an opportunity to earn citizenship. Citizenship. It needs to take a long time, whether that's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You earn it. Citizenship's not given to somebody.
Right.
You have to earn citizenship.
Got to take a quiz.
You got to learn.
You got to know the history.
Yeah. No choice. Learn the language.
Yeah.
Because I believe English should be our official language. And that's not a knock on other languages. It's simply a
This
truth.
is what we speak here.
Yeah.
If you want to do commerce, you need to speak the language.
If you don't know English, your ability to succeed in this country is very limited.
Yes.
Why don't we just tell the truth? I don't know what's wrong with telling the truth. It's simply the truth. So, while I support what he wants to do executively, I still think Congress has a role in the long term.
I do too. and this is something we've always said on this show, that executive orders, presidential signing statements really only have authority over the executive branch. It's not a new way to make laws. It is not some way to skirt the system. You are able to control what happens in the executive branch. Now, they've gotten to a point where they will make an executive order that directs the executive branch on how to affect private business or things like that. Not okay. That's not what they're intended for.
It's like everything with government. It goes out of control, way too far, absurdly too much, and even well-intentioned stuff goes too far. It's gotten to that point. But again, as the executive, doesn't President Trump have the ability to take allocated funds to the border and move them in a certain direction as he sees fit?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that's making law.
No.
I mean, if anything, Trump is repealing the power of the federal government, not increasing it.
Right.
It's putting it to the use of what it was intended to be.
Yes.
So again, but I go back to this though, Jay. So I think we're both kind of in general agreement on what we think the president's going to do initially.
Yeah.
Here comes the part where I'm concerned, and that's Congress.
Yeah.
Because there's a very ambitious agenda from the president, whether that is taxes, whether that is holding government agencies accountable, whether that is, I think there's a lot of stuff Trump wants to do on health care.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why he brought in RFK.
Yeah, and getting rid of pharmacy benefit managers and, a lot of this rubber stamping, a lot of lobbyists who, end up getting hired by the companies they're supposed to regulate. There's obviously a lot of foreign policy goals he has that I think are going to be very different from the previous administration. And there's this thing called Congress out there.
Yes.
That I think could be a great ally of the president, and I think could be a great obstacle to the president.
Yes.
And how they go about working the next, I'm going to say 6 months, because I want a flurry of things to happen. I know Congress, and I know, there's judicial appointments.
Yeah.
There's his cabinet, which is still not there completely. I mean, there's a lot of things there on the table.
Yeah.
Is Congress going to be, Jay, an ally of President Trump's or an obstacle of President Trump's?
Well, right.
We all know in the first term, despite having a Republican Senate his entire 4 years and having a Republican House for 2 of his, they were not particularly good to him. Now, I know Trump, and I think this is true, is better this time around. I think he understands this a little bit more. I think Congress is a little more, the Republican Party has moved toward him rather than him trying to, you go back to like 2016. I don't know that MAGA was a majority of Republicans back then.
Right.
How do you read Congress going into which was just sworn in last week?
Well, they're certainly positioning themselves as though they're going to be all on board with the president's agenda. As a body, when you listen to Mike Johnson, when you listen to a lot of the reps, when you listen to John Thune, you know that there's going to be problem people, like, I mean, we can name them. You have Murkowski, you have in Maine Susan Collins.
I'm actually optimistic about Susan Collins.
Really?
Because she's decided to run for another term. Hear me out.
Oh, has she?
There's no way that she's running for another term. If she wasn't running again,
Yeah.
she could vote however she wants to, and
Right.
nobody could. The fact that she's running again, knowing that if she screws Trump over, she'll probably get beaten in a primary.
Yeah.
Because personally, I'd rather lose that seat than return her. So
Right.
that tells me she's reading the political winds correctly.
Yeah.
Because to me, to go back to Maine and try to hogwash the people there, they ain't going to buy it. I don't think they're going to buy it.
Right.
And the Republicans sure as hell aren't going to. So I'm actually intrigued by it. If she weren't running again, I would be nervous.
Yeah.
Because then she can just vote however she wants to and there's no consequences.
Well,
Now she knows.
yeah, a little bit of accountability is a good thing.
Yeah, it may be that that's actually a good thing. So I'm not sure that she's going to be as not on board as we think. Now, Murkowski's a problem.
Yes.
Without a doubt, because she's just a angry. You know what she ought to be? You know what we ought to do with Lisa Murkowski? Here's what we got to do. I've always advocated for a battalion of women who are going through that time of the month to serve in our military.
Oh boy.
And I think Murkowski ought to be like the lieutenant colonel of that. She just looks always like it's that time of the month for her. She's just always got a scowl and I'm gonna get my husband to vacuum so I don't have to, or to get him to do the laundry or something. So I think she ought to head the Women's Amazonian Battalion Division. And I think that's her job.
Wow.
So I think she's a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how many beyond that. There's a lot of Republicans who owe Trump right now.
Mitch McConnell's a problem.
He's a problem, but is he a negative vote for a lot of this stuff? I mean,
Maybe.
I don't know that he's a no vote. I don't know if you presented him with a tax cut, he'd vote no to it. I'm not sure. I don't know what's in it for him right now to be that guy who F's everybody over. I don't know. I mean,
I don't foresee him taking another trip through,
Yeah, I don't foresee that either. But
this is his last.
Yeah, I don't
stint.
trust him.
No.
I mean, there's no doubt I don't trust him. So
I don't know.
But being there, how do you read Congress, though? How do you read the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate? Do you see it as, what issue do you see them supporting Trump or not supporting him? Where do you see the hang-up being? Because to a certain degree, just hear me out, Jay. To a certain degree, all Republicans want lower taxes, right? I mean, maybe to different degrees, maybe different taxes.
It's not enough to get somebody to vote for you, I don't think, but people expect it when you're there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to a certain degree, Republicans want, deregulation. I think they want, they want a better government. I think they want, I think generally speaking, they're pretty pro-life. They're pretty pro-family. I think that the concern about crime and things I think are very, very high among all Republicans.
Yeah.
Energy independence. I mean, I see almost every Republican to some degree sort of supporting all of that.
Right.
So what's the hang up? What do you see as the 'cause I have a couple in my head.
Yeah, I mean, there are things where I'm worried about them helping to clean out the deep state. I am worried
That's a good
about
one.
them really taking it to China the way that they need to, because there's a number of them that are tied up with China.
Sure.
I am worried about when it comes to things that radically are going to change the way that we do government, that bring accountability, that bring the kind of change that we're all really looking for. I don't know that a lot of them really want to do it.
Yeah, it's the Doge things.
Yes, the Doge things that I wonder, are they going to stop sending $800 million to scientists in the Argentinian Patagonia so that they don't study the negative effects of the green slug?
The mating of zebras and wildebeests. Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think they will. I'm more concerned about the FBI and the CIA and the abuses there, because I'd like to see a new church committee formed, and I don't know that anybody's going to take that on, because they'll end up with some kiddie porn on their laptop that the CIA put there.
Well,
and I mean, again, it's a hard thing to take on. I think they would get support from the White House if they did, but they're going to have to take it on. And 20 years ago, I would have seen a lot of Democrats as partners in that, but I don't know that that's the case anymore. I don't know that the Dems want to challenge the institutions the way they used to.
No, I don't think so, because they own them.
Right.
Yeah,
they're anti-Trump.
They've
They're
weaponized
anti-Trump.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, you still have the anti-Trump Republicans, who I still think have influence in the halls of Congress. They don't have a majority anymore.
Little.
They don't have a media outlet, but they do have fundraising. They do have deep state connections, especially in the areas of foreign policy.
Yeah.
So how does that maneuver? I think that the main things that I worry about are the what Trump's going to propose to reduce the size of government.
Yeah.
Whether that's getting rid of the Department of Education or the Department of Energy, which he's already hinted at.
Laying off tens of thousands of people.
Right. Or not, getting rid of them through attrition. I mean,
Right.
Trump's thrown out 50 different ideas there on how to reduce government size. And obviously you're going to have Elon and Vivek working on that
Right.
24/7. So, I mean, but do I think Congress is going to back all that? No way. I don't think, because there's no fundraising money in reducing the size of government.
Right.
And that is worrisome to me, that you have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to really reduce stuff here.
Yes.
And I think that they're going to come up short with it.
Well, I hope not. I guess we'll have to see how that works out. I mean, there's definitely a good aspect to Elon and Vivek not being part of the government per se, where they have to be, where they have to go before Congress and be sworn in and all that.
Right.
That they can just go about their work. But there's also a negative aspect to that, because there's really no teeth to it. I mean, President Trump can take their findings and bring it to Congress. And then what?
Well, again, this is where I get concerned about having one big bill, because to me, if you're going to reduce the size of government, you have to strip it down to its most naked form. And like I've said before, especially when I talk about economics, I want Democratic support for some of this stuff. I want an up or down vote on no taxes on overtime.
Yeah.
You Democrats want to win back working people, but here's what's going to happen if it's part of a big bill. There's going to be 20 things in the bill that we like and 150 things in the bill we hate.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want, because that's not going to reduce the size of government. It's not going to fundamentally change anything. And I think big bills are going to take 6 months to do, and Trump will lose all his momentum that he's built. He spent 4 years building up. It's got to come short and quick. Boom, boom, boom.
We've always been against omnibus bills here.
Yeah, I hate
single issue bills. Just because the Republicans are doing it doesn't make it any better, because who knows what's in it till we sign it. And
here's the other part. There's some Republicans out there going, well, we can't cut taxes unless we cut spending with it. Well, that sounds great.
Right.
But we all know that's code words for we're going to throw it in larger bills and it's going to take 6 months to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, don't tell me we can't do we can't afford a tax cut. When anybody raises my taxes, anybody asks me how I'm going to pay for it? Yeah, no, of course not.
No.
So I don't care how government pays for it. So but I'm concerned. I'm concerned that the tax promises that we've made, we have to come through on them. That's for working families. I mean, it benefits the no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no taxes on overtime. 70% of the country that affects.
Yep.
And we got to follow through on those things. The idea that you're taxed on your Social Security is so absurd to begin
ridiculous.
with.
It is a tax. They take your money and they set it aside.
Did you pay into it for 40? If somebody gets food stamps out there, are they taxed on that? It's so ridiculous. I mean, come on. It's absurd. So, I mean, they're good ideas. And like I said, it's the working folks that they really, really affect. And it's got to get done. It's got to get done quickly.
Yeah.
If it's not done until July or August, it's going to be a year before it has an effect.
Yes.
Where it has a real effect. Let's just be honest about it. And people need prices to come down now. They need their take-home income to increase now.
Yes.
Not next January, now. So, that's where I come up with Congress. And I think energy is something that Congress has to tackle. They have got to put us on a path and a clear direction, and we got to do it through capitalism, not crony capitalism, not tax cuts to billionaires and industries that give you money. It has to be something straightforward. Government doesn't. The Department of Energy has done nothing but put roadblocks into energy production.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what they spent 50 years doing. And it's got to turn around. Has to turn around.
Well, the problem is you've got all these environmentalists that try to block everything. Look at the wildfires in California. If you didn't have all that underbrush and deadwood and whatever just waiting around like a matchbox waiting to be lit up. But they have fires every year. It's a part of being in California. Yeah. If you clear that stuff out, it's not going to do what happened here. It just isn't.
It's nuts. Crazy.
But, I mean, you've got these problems with California and the fires. You've got the EV mandates. You've got the companies, the energy companies that are selling off their coal plants or closing them down.
Yeah.
Closing down nuclear
refinery
plants.
Capacity.
Yet we need more energy for AI, supposedly. And Jeff Bezos was going to open up 3 Mile Island for the sake of AI.
Let's hope not. I'm scared of AI.
Yeah, well, it's coming.
I'm afraid of it. Okay, but it can be dealt with and regulated, and it's scary. I think it's scary. I'm very afraid of it. Maybe I'm irrational, but
yeah. Sorry, it wasn't Jeff Bezos. It's who's our favorite vaccinator?
Fauci?
No. Bill Gates.
Oh, that. Okay, so how do you see it playing out, though, Jay? How do you see the tax issue? How do you see that playing out?
I think Trump will get his tax cuts through. I think that he'll get through. What I don't know if he'll get through is changing the tax code so that it's a 10% flat tax or getting rid of the income tax entirely.
Yeah, I know.
That's going to be a tougher haul for him to get done.
I know. He's proposed them all as options. Yeah, I know. And I mean, just imagine if the tax code were gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Imagine if there was no income tax. Imagine the boom to this country if there was no income tax. But too many people would just lose their power. I mean, ultimately, it's the big corporations and the big lobbyists that take advantage of the tax code.
Yeah.
Because they get their stuff written into it for their people.
Right.
And the regular folks are always left behind with it.
That's where... I think getting rid of the income tax, I'm totally in favor of. But if we're not going to do that, doing a flat tax, where
the only worry I have about a flat tax is you create a flat tax and then somebody else gets into a power and they go back to remember the 1986 bill under President Reagan, which was one of the first times we've ever simplified the tax code. We only had 3 brackets.
Yeah.
We had what Congress would call closing loopholes. I would say getting rid of free things, but there was a whole host of things bipartisanly supported, passed overwhelmingly, and it really did reduce the size of the IRS and the tax code. And then all we've done since then is reverse it. We've added on to it, all the things that we reversed off of it.
Right.
So if you say, okay, let's have a 8%. I mean, I'm making up numbers. An 8% flat tax. Great. What happens the next president comes along? All right, we're going to go back to the tax cuts for the rich.
They could do that, or is there any reason why they couldn't go, we really need to have an 11% flat tax this time, or 15%? I don't know. Getting rid of it entirely is probably...
It would have to repeal that amendment, though, I think, to do that.
I mean, couldn't you set like a 0%?
You could write it into law, but it could be repealed. I mean, you'd have to do something with Social Security, though, to get rid of the because I have the unpopular opinion among conservatism. I have the unpopular opinion that I think Social Security is constitutional based on their power to tax. It doesn't say how much and what for.
Right.
Yes, they have the authority to do that. It's written in that income tax amendment. Do I like it? No. But it is constitutional. And again, that's an unpopular opinion on our side. But you're going to have to, can you collect a FICA tax and not an income tax? I mean, is there, if you write a law saying you can't tax people's incomes, well, what does that apply to?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's all up in the air. But yeah, would I get rid of an income tax in a heartbeat? I would. Wow. Now there's other things though that come to my mind because excess taxes are so regressive. That's another issue in and of itself. Right. Because even though the federal government isn't as involved in those as some of the states' governments are. But I go back to New Hampshire. How come New Hampshire has no state income tax or sales tax? Their government somehow is not broke. How does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. All those states that don't have an income tax seem to do really well. Florida, Texas, South Dakota, Tennessee, they don't seem to be having any issues.
We don't seem to be that much better.
No. And we collect all sorts of taxes. if you can think about it, you can tax it.
We tax everything except fresh air.
And taxes. Maybe we do taxes.
Tax, probably.
Yeah, we I think we do. Since
what would you call that?
Well, franchise fees on like churches and schools, because they take our tax money and then you put a franchise fee on that, and they have to turn around and give that tax money to the government.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
as much
a
as
different part of the
I
government.
complain about things like inheritance taxes, they're double taxes too. You're taking money that somebody made
Yeah,
and already paid taxes on, wants to leave it to a loved one, and then they get taxed on the transaction,
yeah,
which is fairly. It's two bites at the same amount of money.
right.
Even though, I mean, I have no sympathy for the Joe Polads of the world. I have a principle that's just not fair that the same money's taxed twice.
Right. I mean, if somebody came by their money honestly and they worked for it, I may not have sympathy for them, but I mean, they earned it, and so I don't believe in this. Oh, the rich need to pay their fair share thing.
Well, I'd like to know what's the fair share.
All of it.
Yeah, exactly. All of it.
They have it, and they should share it. That is the point of view of these people.
And if they don't, they can contribute it to the Democrats. Then the Democrats have no problem with it.
Right.
You got no problem with the fair share as long as the money goes to them. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I don't know how else to.
I don't know,
Comment that,
Jay.
right?
I'm of two minds on that because I have become much more populist in my thinking and anti-corporate, anti-elite. But at the same time, I don't think it's government's job to tell somebody how much money they can make.
No.
You know, so it's kind of like, all right, pay your fair share. Well, what's that exactly?
Right.
Is that a percentage of your income? Is it a percentage minus all the deductions and write-offs? And I mean, what's the fair share? You know, liberals have no problem with anybody making millions of dollars if they sell solar panels,
Right.
or if they sell windmills. But if they drill for oil, then they're the devil.
Right.
So which is it? You know, I mean, so to me, it's kind of like, all right, what I'd like to do is get rid of the crony capitalism and say, okay, you're going to pay a percentage, but we're going to get rid of your free stuff. I'll lower the percentage, but no more of this. Take your lobbyists and they can go get a real job.
Yes.
Okay, they can go grow cannabis. Okay, but we have to have the simplification of people knowing what and no more of this. I'm going to create a foundation and put my wife in charge of it and let her take a $500,000 salary and let your kids be a part of it and use it as a tax shelter. It's all it is a tax shelter.
Yes.
It's just a way of allocating money so you don't have to pay it.
Yes. I mean, it's really little different than.
So am I a
hypocrite?
hypocrite?
No.
Am I a hypocrite? Because I wholeheartedly believe in capitalism, Jay.
Yes.
Wholeheartedly.
I do too. I think.
But do we have a warped view or warped capitalism here in this country? Because I would argue we're not a capitalist nation. We haven't been for quite some time.
Yeah, I would argue that too. That you really don't have a free exercise of capitalism. That a lot of these corporations that are so huge really operate more as a government than they do as a corporation, and for them to be able to have a voice in certain things,
Well,
they crush people and they don't care about it.
Yeah, and this is something that I think that the administration is going to have to think about. How many industries are controlled by oligopolies? By 2, 3, 4 giant corporations.
Yes.
Controlling a sector of the economy, whether that's banking, whether that is media, whether that is home improvement, whether that's cars, whatever it is. The amount of things, the amount of areas in the United States that are really controlled, pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
insurance companies. I mean, you got 2, 3, 4 giants in these industries and literally nobody else. Now, again, is that really capitalism? I mean, if my choices, for banking are Wells Fargo, Bank of Amigo, and, U.S. Bank, how much of that is really capitalism?
Right. Yeah, none of it.
I don't know. That's a tough one. But I mean, I really do believe that that's something we got to start thinking about. The breaking up. I don't know why. Again, I don't know what the perfect solution is, because companies rise to the top for various reasons. Whether they make a better product,
Yeah.
whether they have better service or better whatever. There's a reason some companies fail and some companies succeed.
Yes.
And I don't want the government picking winners and losers, but I don't want somebody to tell me my choices are McDonald's and Burger King. Okay, that isn't right either for the customer. So I don't know how we fix that. Actually, I do.
Yeah.
Make me dictator and I'll fix all of it.
Just on day one, or
I don't. I'll let Trump be president for a while, and then I'll figure out whatever he doesn't get done. I'll figure out.
I think that he's going to do a pretty good job
Think
here.
so.
I'm excited. 3 days from when we record this. Well, almost. We got another hour and 12
I don't know.
minutes,
I don't
and then
know.
we're down to 3 days.
But it's the longest lame duck period
Oh,
in Western civilization.
I tell you, you couldn't chop off a duck's legs and have a lame duck for longer.
Doesn't
Yes.
doesn't election day seem like a year ago?
It seems like quite a while ago.
It's so
Certainly does.
All right, Jay. Styling, profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. What do you got for us today?
Well, we've got to work together. As we've kind of laid out here in this podcast, what we got going at the state level, what we got going at the federal level. The Texas Assembly, which in some ways is great because they meet like once every other year, and that's it. And they have one body, one unicameral body of assemblymen and women. But yet, in such a conservative state, they have a whole lot of really bad Republicans. And they just actually appointed their new speaker. And they had a guy running that was really conservative and ready to get after it, and he was very popular. And, of course, you had the rhinos get together with the Republicans and elect a rhino that, just like his predecessor, is going to put Democrats as chairs into committees, is going to not bring school choice to Texas because in a state like Texas, the teachers union actually courts the Republican Party because they're in power, not like here. So that is a huge problem. Now, here, we have a whole different kind of mess. But if we don't stand and we don't demand better and we don't put people out there to run for these races that are not rhinos, if we don't primary every rhino in the Minnesota legislature this next election cycle, if we don't make sure that we have people at the county level, the city level, the school board level, the township level, that all desire freedom, we're in trouble. So what are we going to do to overcome these things as we move into this new period, this rebirth of America, if you will, an American Renaissance? I believe that is something that we have a possibility of seeing, where all the great things we love about America are going to be on display again, where people are going to be able to work hard and see the fruits of their labor. But it really comes down to us, and are we willing to work for it, or are we just going to come home, sit in our chairs, turn on the TV, and not attack it, not come at it with the ability to do something great? I know that we can. And I know that we are capable of doing things that we never thought possible before, of exercising policies that all of a sudden show us that, like a conservative resurgence, if you will, that we will stand and not be moved. And this is going to spur on in our own lives. We're going to see more things go right. We're going to see more money in our pocket. We're going to see less regulation holding us back from our dreams. So now's the time to get moving and get organized and get ready to step into something amazing, because something amazing is certainly coming. But it takes all of us to jump in and to not back off, to not let the pedal off the metal. We have to step into this next phase, of one mind, and to be unmoved that we will not allow the Democrats to take this in the direction that they want to go. But to do that, we've got to stay in unity. So, I'll make my pitch. It is up to us if we want to see the kind of change that we're trying to create. We need you to get in the fight. We need you to get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And it doesn't even matter if you're not interested in running for office. There's something you can do to be a citizen journalist, or to help on a campaign, or many, many other things. Let's work together. Let's stop these things that are harming our country, and let's restore that American feeling, that American spirit. It's right there. It's palpable. It's right at our fingertips. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.